G'day and welcome back for more Space Engineer Survival. And it's still daylight outside, so I'm going to go do something that it's a little more risk than I should probably, in an ideal world, take. But I'm going to do it anyway, which is using the ugly duckling to go and collect some salvage. It was very sensibly suggested to me that I should probably avoid using the ugly duckling, since I did manage to turn a sandbag into a crumple zone for it just the last night. But I'm going to promise to be more careful. Is that hopefully that's enough. Basically, it's daylight, so I'd like to take advantage of that and get a few pieces of salvage inside before night falls. And to build another vehicle in that time is just going to take too long. So I want to get a little bit in there right now. Once it starts getting dark though, that will be when I will work on the new carrier, scavenger, guess it sort of a vulture, because it is a bit of a scavenging craft, to go and pick up all of the various bits and pieces that are out there. Hopefully I'll be able to get enough lights on it that I'll be able to get away with at least using it carefully at night, even if I can't use it. Now, I think this piece is very long. Oh, I should probably turn off the turrets. No fleeting rivals nearby that aren't obviously dead, so turrets off. I wonder if I just gently drop this, if I can pick it up in a more sensible orientation. Yeah, this will be easier to fly through. I think with it lengthways like that, I would probably have trouble even getting through the front door gap. Or at least this is going to make it a lot easier to do that. There we go. This piece of salvage is probably just about at the limit of what the ugly duckling can manage. Because as soon as I tilt a little bit to the side, I'm feeling the controls get very sketchy. So whatever I build to carry the rest of the salvage is going to have a bit more power than just the ugly duckling's 5 lifting thrusters and a couple of sideways and forward and backward thrusters. What if I go for something that can have multiple landing gear so that I can pick up multiple pieces of salvage at once? Because each run, especially if I only end up picking up a small piece of salvage, does take a fair bit of time to go in and out and in and out. Which brings me to another comment, which was about me coming home empty after dropping a sandbag and leaving empty to go pick up a sandbag when I was recycling them last time. I did that for the first couple, and then I realized how dumb it was, and then I started taking one out as I brought one back so that I didn't have empty trips. But I edited all those bits out. Sometimes I edit out the bits where I actually do the smart things. In fact, I think most of the time that's what I end up editing, because when I do dumb things it tends to be at least somewhat amusing. I've got to keep an eye on how close that, fleeting rival is, because I don't want to accidentally... Oh, wait a second. The Space Pirate headquarters are now active. I think they've finally reached my base limit. Hopefully their drones disappear, because I think they've got the nastiest ones. Although I suspect those flying saucer style drones are the strongest that are available to them anyway, at least in atmosphere. Wonder if we've got any more in these little valleys. Oh, that's a piece there. There is stuff everywhere. Oh man. No wonder the game hasn't been liking me lately. I thought the drone graveyard was the only spot that was really bad, but it looks like there's even more than just that. And by drone graveyard, I mean the bit at the top of up on that plateau, where most of these drones seem to get shot down. But I think even plenty of them have managed to make it down the sides of these mountains. One more piece, and then I think it'll be getting too dark, at least down on the slopes. This has managed to happen a lot quicker than I remembered, me being able to make these trips. Oh, there's some little pieces here. Let's grab them. Ooh, I'm 2 minutes of power when I'm lifting. This will be my last little trip. What do we got here? do I reckon I can pick up 2 of these bits? That's one. Let's try and grab one of these. So if I'm building this next vehicle and it's got multiple landing gears so I can collect several pieces at once, I'm going to need to make sure I have control set up so that I can access each landing gear independently, as well as drop them all in one go so that I don't have to press them all. Oh, come on. Gimme. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Why aren't you working? Because the other bit of wreckage is stopping me. Go. There we go. Okay. Landing gear. Status locked. Ready to lock. Lock. There we go. 2 tiny pieces of salvage. That's 2. Oh, there's another piece behind that tree. Gee, there's stuff everywhere. Once I feel like I've gotten most of this cleaned up, I am definitely going to have to just turn trash cleanup on and forget about the rest of the wreckage because there's just so much. Oh, man. Oh, I think I did this with just... Let's see how much I had to spare. Battery. Ooh, 32 kilowatt hours. Not too bad, but yeah, not much. Park. Charge on. Alright. Good job, Ugly Duckling. Well done. How much salvage did we manage to pull out of that? Oh, yeah. That'll hopefully give us some little stock of components. Let's run this thing. And now, let's start designing that new car. Oh, no, 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 bad, 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 bad. Almost forgot to do something. Ah. Okay. Control. Control 2. Turn on the turrets. Jeez. Just noticed that fleeting rival is quite close. Let's just make sure everything has turned on. I don't see any red glow, so... Whoa! Was it shooting at me? I think it was shooting at me. I feel like I got very lucky then. Thank you, sandbags. This was the drone graveyard I was talking about. Look at all this wreckage. There's so much. Oh, man. There's even pieces down there. Alright. Let's get on to this design of this new little carrier. And once we've got... Oh, there's all the clanging from the grinder pit working. One little change I'm going to make to these is max impulse access. Let's drop this down to 10,000. That'll hopefully cause less crushing of all of the components in here. Oh, there's little bits everywhere. I feel like this grinder wall has worked better than my original idea, which was to have just a straight up pit with a lid over the top. But there are certainly aspects of it that could work better, which I think will need to be done in a revision of the grinder pit in the future. And much like the elevator, I do want to do a revision of it. I'm just not going to do it yet. Let's see if I can unstick that grinder, because it is stuck. I think it's stuck on the parts. So let's start designing this new little vehicle that I haven't decided whether to call the Stork or the Vulture. I do kind of like Stork. It's a bit nicer than Vulture. And this is supposedly going to be capable of doing more than just picking up salvage, so maybe I won't call it the Vulture. If I'm going to have to make the salvage fit through this 4x5 gap here, then the ship should fit through that as well. So let's start here. One landing gear. Let's go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across. 5 gap in between. Yeah, I think that'll work. Then, yeah, get in there. Then we should be able to place a landing gear under here. If I can get down there. There we go. Like so. And I placed them the wrong way around. So 5 gap across there. Then if we head back... 7? Yeah, we'll go with that. Put another landing gear here. This way we'll have 4 landing gear, 1 at each corner, which will hopefully give us the capacity to lift up sometimes 4 pieces of salvage, but certainly at least 2 larger pieces if I line it up carefully for the front and the back, or the left and the right, depending on which way is easier to pick it up. So this will give some flexibility and hopefully save on the number of trips, which is ideally what I would like to do. Okay. Don't really want them right at the edge of the craft, so let's just put... Oops. Let's just put a couple of cubes out here to remind me that I've got that extra space to work with. Then, I think I'm going to do something different with this one to what I've usually done with most of my other craft. I'm actually going to have the cockpit offset to one side. And we've got enough space. Do I want it there? There. Might go there. Then, we need some batteries. So, what if I go battery there? Oh, actually, what if I do this? Battery there, battery there, battery there. So we'll go 3 batteries. Then we're going to need thrusters, and we're going to need all of the other functional blocks. So if we grab a few gyroscopes and go 1, 2, do you reckon I need 3? No, I think 2 will probably be about... I'll put a third on anyway. When they're carrying heavy loads, it's quite nice to have the option to up your gyroscope strength, because movements like this become quite difficult with a lot of weight unless you've got more gyroscopes. So that's what I want those for. We will need some reverse thrust. So I'm going to pop 3 of them. Or maybe I'll do 4 like this. Do a little quad. Yeah, that could look interesting. That's definitely different to how I normally do it, because I normally do them more linearly, so maybe I'll do them in a little box like that. Just as an aside, since I was getting some hydrogen, I'm actually going to make the O2H2 generator the bottle storage. It does make things a little easier in some ways, as I just go back to my old way of when I need to deal with bottles, I press ice. What I was finding was that I kept having really bad timing, and I would throw the bottles in just as the script would pull them out, so they wouldn't actually get enough time to get filled. But I should really just I should really just make it this way. Search for ice, I find that. Or even, I might be able to come up with a different code for bottles and go EE or something like that. Because unfortunately when I put CC in, the O2H2 generator came up at the top of the list, which was annoying. And I couldn't figure out how to get that fixed, even though it alphabetically should have been lower in the list. Now, if we've got those 4 like that, and I probably want to have a couple of large thrusters on this for lift. What if we go with... Do I want it there? No. I want it 1 higher than that. So what if we go with a large thruster here, which means another one over here, just because this bit should be symmetrical, even though the rest of the ship is going to be asymmetrical. Yeah, that's interesting. Then that'll leave us enough room to hopefully come up with an interesting way to incorporate this as a 4. Then we have... Ooh. What if we do something silly and go... 1, 2, 3, 4, which will allow this to work. You know what I might do? Might get rid of that battery from there. Move these a little around. Take this off because it does look a bit funny having it at this corner. And I do want a lot of batteries on this ship because it's going to be taking a big load. It's going to need that extra bit of power for the thrusters. And it'll mean it'll be able to make more trips before I need to run a recharge on it. So if we put a battery there, then I can put thrusters here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then same over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I've got forward, backwards, left, right, and up, which is all I need. And 4 thrusters in each direction is actually pretty decent. If we think about the butterball, it's got 6, 7 in each direction. So we've got more than half what it's got, and it can take a very large load. Hopefully I'll be able to keep this one a bit more upright, since I'll only have one sort of control thing that I need to do. Now, there is something that this will need in order to work, which I think may change my rear thruster design. Might break them up and have them as a 2 and 2 so that we can have a connector. And I want a connector so that I have a way to recharge. So we might put a connector nice and... Oh, that's right. I've made this even numbered. Okay, never mind. Goodbye to you. Let's put our connector on top of that. Yeah. That'll be off enough to the side of these thrusters. I'm trying to leave enough room around this design to be able to incorporate some armor design into it later. That's why I'm leaving these big gaps everywhere. We need an antenna, which I can stick in here. Let's do it that way. We need a couple of programmable blocks. One for the transmit script and one for the refuel recharge script. And I think that's everything. I think that'll be a pretty functional little ship for what we're using it for. Then, over here, we can place a very dodgy connector because we don't actually need it to be piped up. Since this has no cargo capacity on it, and it really is just a connector for recharge, I can just throw a connector pretty much anywhere. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a connector like that. I placed it down because I'm going to try and weld up all of this with the buttercup rather than doing any of it by hand. Now, do I want to do any molding yet? Possibly want to make a few extra links through here just for stability's sake if I do manage to knock something while flying it. Okay, let's weld this up. I'm actually really liking using the buttercup for more and more of my welding jobs. It saves an awful lot of time. It's actually worked out to be quite an effective welding ship, having the large grid welder attached to the front. I'm quite happy with how it's turned out. And I'm interested to see how well it's going to go welding a more complex design like this, whether I'm going to be able to get in and reach all of the necessary bits and pieces. Oh yeah, that's reached the landing gear from here, which is pretty cool. So that was just one... Oop. I think I might need to lower down so I can move the camera where I want it. That was just one spot, and it's managed to weld about a third of the ship, which is kind of cool. Exactly what I was hoping would happen. Oh, I did forget to do something in this. I'm going to need to place a bunch of spotlights on it in all sorts of orientations so that we can see, hopefully, a decent range at night and be able to collect some salvage before morning. That is something I will need to set up. And I do intend to make this design pretty. This isn't another Igor. I want to I want to do some armor sculpting on this. I thought about it, and I think instead of the new little ship being a Stork or a Vulture, I'm going to call it the Bower, because it's going to pick up everything that's shiny and bring it back to what a few people have started calling the nest, which is this base. There we go. It's ugly as sin right now, but it'll get better. It will get better, I promise. We need lights. We need a bunch of spotlights. Really, we want downward facing ones. Probably at each corner would be nice. Having a reverse spotlight would be helpful. You know what? Maybe we do one out each side. Though, I could... I'll just place it roughly for the moment. Come up with a better idea soon. So one at each side. Then we need spotlights on the front. Not there. Spotlight there. And even though this only gives me a little bit of extra range by having two of them, another one here. I could place these spotlights on rotors and get them moving to slightly more useful angles rather than just stuck at all of the cardinal directions like they are. But I think having something flying around with rotors on it that collects scrap from the ground is possibly not my brightest move ever. And I will need to add some interior lights to this as well so that we can get some general surrounding light too. Because as you can see, the cone of the light from the spotlight is very tight. Let's hop in the bower info. Let's just call it that for now. Rightio. Let's hide all of these thrusters since we don't need to see them. We're going to make these gyroscopes into a group because we're probably going to want to control how strong they are. Having 3 gyroscopes at full power is unlikely to be what we want when we're just flying around with no salvage being carried. So if we go groups, gyroscopes, and we're going to go increase power and decrease power, we need to do a couple of things with these programmable blocks. First is rename them. Now we can set up these scripts. Edit, browse, ship refueler, that's what we want for this one. Transmit, name of antenna. Bower antenna. I'll make a spotlights group. Oh, rats. I didn't name the group properly before. Ship lock and terminal off. Gyroscope should be named with the ship because I need to start doing that sort of stuff more often. Interior lights. Max their radius. Don't need to be quite so intense. What I'm going to do with the landing gear, even though it's possibly not the most valuable of things to do, is I might name them by their location. So 4 is front left and 3 is front right. And the ones at the rear are landing gear 5 left, 6 right. Which is one of the useful things about being able to do the show on HUD for stuff like this. So 5 was rear right. First I'm going to create a landing gear group. Save. Then, don't need them in terminal. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to our G menu and on our hotbar we're going to set up our first hotbar as our transmitter script. So this will be run with turrets on, then run with turrets off, then run with sandbag broadcast, and then it was sandbag parachute deploy. I think those names were right. If they're wrong, I'll fix them up later. Now what we want to do is, so that's our hotbar 1. Hotbar 2, actually how many have we got there? 6, 7, 8, 9. I might get rid of the parachute deploy and the landing gear lock for the sandbags on this, and I'll make a separate control for them later. Turrets on, turrets off, and broadcast I do want. But the reason I don't want to have the other ones in here is what I want to do with this hotbar is have switch lock for all of the landing gear as an option, then have left front, Oh, that's left aft. Left front, switch lock. Right front, switch lock. Left rear, switch lock. And right rear, switch lock. So I needed to have enough space to have all of those so that I can independently control them. It's nice to have a rough idea which one is which, but conveniently, when these are able to be locked, it'll show up here, so I'll just be able to press the button based off that anyway. But it might just make it a little quicker for me to think about it. And let's have a switch lock for the connector. How far off are any of the enemies? Looks like we got none coming in, so let's take this opportunity to go out and test this new little thing that looks ridiculous right now, but will get better. First off, let's turn our show on HUD off for the landing gear. We don't need to see them anymore. Let's turn our lights back on. Ooh, and I don't want these on auto lock either. So let's unlock. And we got probably 10 minutes of flying time anyway, so that's okay for now. It's interesting flying this not from the dead center of the craft. It's going to make for some interesting, unusual flight characteristics. Because I'm going to have to be careful about how wide it is on the left. And I did just notice something that I've done with this. I've designed it in a way that would be very familiar for people from the UK or from Australia or any of the other countries that drive on the left-hand side of the road. I've made this right-hand drive. And I did it without even thinking about it. I'm going to need to turn the turrets off. Turrets off. Let's collect this salvage. There we go. So we can see now that number 6 says ready to lock, and I also know that number 6 is the front right one. So we can lock. Oh, and now we can see that even with that load, that is far too strong with the gyroscopes. Let's drop them down to, yeah, that's a bit more normal. A bit less crazy, a bit less likely for me to twist so fast that I end up smacking into the wall and breaking things. Now, can I lock this other piece? Yes, I can. So ready to lock is 5. Let's see if I can reverse in and grab any more. Now there are some little pieces of salvage here that I really don't think I can be bothered. That was very tight. I don't know that I'm going to get in here and get those because of the size of the salvage I've got on front. Yeah, ready to lock. 8. So there are some little bits of salvage around here that I think are probably small enough that I don't really want to bother with them. They'll be more work than they're worth. So I may, once we drop off this load, turn on some of the cleanup side of things to try and get rid of some of those little bits of grid so they don't cause any issues by hanging around, since I don't think I'm going to worry about 2 or 3 bits of steel plate and go to the effort of flying out to pick that up. I do like having these side spotlights on. They're really quite helpful because they're that extra little reminder of what's around you. It is unfortunate that we can't have a lighting system that goes out further than 120 meters, but even at that, being able to either fly down, not having to fly down facing the cliff so that I know where the cliff is quite nice. Just psychologically. Don't think it makes any practical difference whatsoever, but psychologically facing the cliff just feels awkward. Okay, am I going to fit down here with all my pieces of salvage? Yes. Good. We do have a timer for the start of the... Actually, let's disconnect from the base because it makes it easier to find everything. We do have a timer that starts the grinder pit. So let's set up a command for that, which is run base TB grinder pit start. Confirm. And now I should be able to remotely start this. Oh yeah, nice. Let's go get some more salvage. I wonder if I could make this have a hollow center. That's tempting. might try and fiddle around with that idea when I start doing the armor. Do something totally different to my usual designs. See if I can come up with something interesting that looks nice. And plus, it's always nice to have the vehicles look a little bit different from one another. That's why I wanted to do this one asymmetrical and with the cockpit off center, just for something a little bit different. All right, let's see how many of these bits we can grab. What I might also do, I may activate some trash cleanup now. So, probably shouldn't do this while I'm here, but let's go to cleanup. Let's set with blocks less than 3. Let's try 2. And further from player than 250 meters. Hopefully that'll start clearing up a bit of the junk that's around here that I don't even really want to bother taking back with me. Since there are a number of bits. Dang it, I had that spot. There we go. And that is 5. Since there are a lot of little bits that... really, there is no point in me trying to collect them. They're so low value. It'll be like 2 or 3 pieces of steel plate or something. Doing what I'm doing right now would be very, very difficult if I had first person only on. Trying to lock these things in place with a camera. Whoopsie daisy. Didn't mean to break some of the wreckage. My bad. There we go, and lock. There we go, 4 pieces of salvage, nice. I am liking this little ship. I love the look of the red lights. If we go up a bit higher, we can see it a bit better. I love that look with the red lights of all of the turrets along the way. It's ended up looking quite cool. Okay. I am flying in the middle of nowhere. How did that get damaged? The turrets are off, so I shouldn't be getting shot. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. That's weird. Oh, nuts. Forgot something. Oh. I'm not going to be able to easily open this up. I'm going to have to start the reversing process, which is on... Oh, it's still a group. Nuts. I'll need to set up a timer for that. This is going to take a while. I could... What? Autopilot enabled? Oh! The heck? What if that fixes it? No! I can't. Okay, so I hop in, autopilot enabled, and I can't control anything. I think that may have something to do with a remote control block in one of the bits of salvage that I picked up. So we are going to fix that in a second. So clean up this bit of mess. And we are going to find the block that is doing that. There we go. Interesting. Good to know that that can happen. And I probably don't want to hop out while I'm still gripping onto any salvage. Another advantage of the lights on the sandbags is they are actually making it very easy for me to know how far away the ground is, even when I can't see it with my own lights. Which is quite nice. Okay, and lock. Let's see if we can grab a few big bits this time. If I grab them awkwardly, I may have to drop them outside the pit and then take them down into the pit independently. But it saves. Well, that happened. Okay, fine. Be like that. I was hoping you would stay as one piece so I could carry you as one piece. But fine. Okay, 7. And what can we grab with this rear one? Do you reckon I can grab that? This is... I think I picked up the one with the front a little awkwardly. I may have to change its positioning to try and get this one. Oh, maybe not. Oh, yes. No. Almost. Ah. I keep moving from the position when I get the yellow. Yes. Okay. Now that's some loot. What the? Stop exploding while I'm carrying you. It's just rude. Really? It's not necessary. Whoa! Oh, Splitsie! How did you miss that? Come on. Okay. So, I'm cooking the bits with my thrusters. That's where the problem is. I'm such an idiot. That was so dumb. I can't believe it took me that long to see that. So, yeah. Placement of thrusters is important when you're carrying salvage. I need to make sure that my front bits of salvage are always in front of those thrusters so I don't keep cooking them. Grr! For anyone who was annoyed at me when I didn't realize that straight away, I'm annoyed at myself too. Especially as I just cooked an entire large thruster with that one on the right. Rats. That is annoying. That is very annoying. I wonder if I could do anything to improve that as a design thing. I'm suspicious there's not much I can change because I am going to have some lifting thrusters and I don't want to make the ship huge. So I'm kind of very limited with my options there. This is delicate piloting. Something I'm not normally good at. So I tend to get impatient. Oh, drone incoming. So let's start our grinder pit working while we go collect another load, and hopefully we'll be able to get that load in and ready to grind down before that drone gets here, because it is still 7.5 k's away, so we've got a fair bit of a window to collect a couple more pieces. And I'm feeling very good about my cleanup work so far. Oh, that's kind of pretty with all those lights from all the drones out here. It's quite cool. Okay, this time, let's not cook anything with our thrusters. So, in order to avoid that, that should be well and truly clear. Good. And that is number 5. It means I'm not going to be able to grip anything with 6, but it should be okay. Ooh, this is a big heavy piece. I think it may even have active inertial dampeners on, which is making this even more difficult. That might be all I get this time. One of the reasons I chose to build a cockpit on this ship instead of doing the seat and remote control like I have on the Ugly Duckling is I have a habit of forgetting some important things every now and then. And one of them would be turning the turrets back on. So it's much quicker to do that if I've forgotten, if I can just jump in the cockpit and press it straight away. If I don't have to go through the whole rigmarole of selecting the remote and clicking control. Now we are going to have to set up a timer so that we can open this lid as well. For now, let's just rest awkwardly there. And even though this is grinding right now, I am going to reverse it so that we can get these pieces that would get shot and drop them inside. So I don't want to sit out here with them. I'd have done most of it anyway. That's alright. I want to get this in and ground down before that enemy gets here. I think I'm relatively safe to turn them on now, so let's do that so I don't forget. Nope. Nope, it was not safe. Did the tick have an angle on me? Oh, I think the tick had an angle on me. Cheeky little bugger. Okay, I gotta get into the pit first. Let's start the grinder. Let's go park this thing. And let's do some... I'm gonna do a little bit of armor design now. I probably won't get the thing finished, but I'll get a rough layout of how I think it might look alright. So I've been thinking about that while we've been flying around. Lock down, get some recharge going. Okay. No, should probably turn off all the spotlights too. How much have we managed to collect from all of this salvage. So we've gotten probably 700 or 800 steel plate in the stuff we've collected so far, which isn't too bad. Not sure of the other ones because that's really the only one I've been paying attention to. But that's not too bad. That'll hopefully get us, with all the salvage that's out there, pretty close to being able to finish off this grinder bay. So what I think I'm going to do is my usual thing of having some degree of half slopes underneath. Oh, or I was just about to place a bunch of these along in a line like that. But what if I make these landing gear look more like they're kind of clamped onto the rest of the build? So if I grind away that block and then put that there, one there and one there, put another one there, we can, I believe, safely remove this. This could end up being the goose all over again shortly while I try and remove these carefully and hopefully don't end up creating a situation where I no longer have links. Like that. Dang it. At least that was only thrusters. I can replace them on fairly easily. I think I might have left myself too much space. One of the tips that I read on the Space Engineers subreddit a little while ago, I unfortunately can't remember who said it, but I think it is a great tip for new builders in any sort of grid-based building game. From Minecraft to Space Engineers to Empyrean to really any of them. If you leave a bit more space between your functional blocks, you leave yourself with a lot more options on how to build the styled blocks around those functional blocks. So by leaving all that extra space between my landing gear and between all of the other bits and pieces on here, I've given myself the option to do some really crazy design work on this. Stuff that wouldn't have been possible if I'd tried to cram it all in as close to each other as I can. Well, yes, there are some awesome benefits in making things cramped. It's harder. It's genuinely more difficult to put something together that way. So I would always say, if you're starting out, do things the easy way and give yourself that space. Play with a bit more room, and when you're confident and comfortable with how all the blocks work and look together, that's when you start going for the smaller, tighter fitting designs. And if you're wanting to try something crazy, give yourself the room for it. Crazy takes space. Ah, I did it again. Nuts. Alright. Good to know that that was how they were connected, because that means I will want to have 2 of those there. I think this design has worked out to be awkward and ungainly, but very functional. I like that I've tried something new, even if it really hasn't necessarily worked from all angles. There are some parts that are good, some parts that are less good, but I really am happy that I tried something new. Otherwise, I was just designing the same things the same way, and I do like to try and come up with something that looks different, that looks unique, even if it's not the best looking thing. I would highly recommend, if you are ever designing a ship and you're wanting to come up with something that does look a bit different, to use things like weirdo designs, weirdo setups. Can I get at that? No. I would highly recommend using weirdo designs and weirdo setups to try and come up with new, unusual ways of doing things, because it's fun. Even if it doesn't work out, it is fun. So next time, we will go and collect even more salvage. We did manage to get quite a bit done today. I was pleased with how much we managed to collect. And I will send this back. And then we should, I reckon, with 3 or 4 more trips from the, whatever we're going to call this, I suppose it is a ring of gold, so it could be the halo for the moment. 3 or 4 more trips of it, and we might be able to get enough pieces together to weld up this grinder area finally. And with it sort of designed as well, I can think about how I will actually build this front parking area to make it interesting as well. So there's that. And hopefully that, but I might get distracted. And plenty more to come. So I'll see you then.